Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to just do inputting of a listing on MLS, but I am going to go through just a few steps of pulling some of the information that is needed. We're going to assume that we have some of the information from our seller, some of the information from us going out to the home, like we are supposed to, wandering around the yard, wandering through the home, taking notes. And then some of it we're going to get from county websites. This bar is a little bit in my way. So I have MLS pulled up. This is not what we're doing. So let me go back to my matrix to do, well, first we're going to quickly kind of go through pulling some information. So I have just randomly selected a property. So if coincidentally it happens to be anything y'all are getting ready to work on, that is my apologies. Like I said, I just grabbed a random property in Rowan County. So I've got some information on it based on when it was sold previously, but also some of the information that I'm putting in there is just going to be kind of made up a little bit because we're just going to pretend that, like I said, I've already been out there and I've talked to them and I've gotten my information. First thing I ever did when I talked to my people was get a working with real estate agent signed. And then I sent them the disclosures and they filled them out. And we went over the listing agreement and we filled that out, and I've done background work. So this is obviously all make believe, but this is what you would do. So one of the things that I'm going to do is get a copy of the deed from Rowan County Register of Deeds website. And if I'm typing in the name properly, we're going to stop there. It should pull her up. So I've typed her in by name. And then we are going to go find the actual deed. All right, so I think, yeah, it's still screen sharing. So here's the actual deed. And I don't see where she's sold it anywhere else. We see copies of the deed of trust and everything from when she's got her loan on it. So this is the correct community, Alexander Glen. I pulled one that has an HOA. Let me move everybody because you're covering my screen. Okay. So this is a copy of the deed. There's my parcel ID number. So I'm jotting that down on my notes. Y'all should take notes when you do your listings. Save your information in your computer into .loop, but also go ahead and take your notes. And I'm going to click on the deed because I want to look at it. I want to make sure that what I think is the parcel number matches up with the deed. There's my book and page number. I will need that to input into the listing because MLS will ask me for it. So I'm jotting it down so I have it. And we're going to roll down and I'm going to look and say, yep, this is my seller. There's her name. And we've got Alexander Glen. So if you want a copy of the plat map, a lot of times they are referenced in the deed and you can see it has it referenced right here. So I'm going to write down the map book number. And I'll show you how to find that in Rowan County. Every county is a little bit different, but we're in Rowan County. So in Rowan County, something to know, if you pull up a deed and it just says, you know, map recorded in page 8598 and it didn't say book 9995. I think every time, if not almost every time, you can just assume that it is book 9995. That seems to be where all of the maps are found. So really, you just kind of need to know the page number. And I'll show you how to pull that up as well. So I just kind of check out, make sure there's nothing that jumps out in front of me as far as questionable or whatever. And sometimes, like I said, you can find additional information like the plat map. So we're going to pull that as well. So we've got all these pages. I do keep a copy, as you should as well. So I'm going to have it I'm going to save the PDF in a folder in my computer, and I will eventually move everything over into .loop when I'm working with people. I like to have more than one copy of something just to make sure. .loop will never, you cannot delete your documents when you put them in .loop, so it's a great place to be. I made a folder, let me find it. There we go. So I already have a folder made for my pretend client for the property. Like I said, I keep it in my computer, but obviously in .loop as well, which is where we want you to keep it. So I'm going to throw a copy of the deed in my folder so that I have it. And we've got that saved. And then since we found the map book and page number, we're going to look for that in the county as well. So we've got these tabs up top. I hope you can see them. And I'm going to bounce through. You can look for properties in different ways. If all I had was the parcel ID number for a property that I needed to get information on or find a deed for, then I would just click on the parcel ID and type it in. That can be tricky because sometimes the parcel ID numbers don't have all the characters. So the one that we are looking for is 372D025. But sometimes you'll see one of the numbers is missing, like maybe there wasn't a D, it was just 372,025. So when you type it in, you have to account for that space or it will not find it. So sometimes it can be tricky searching by parcel ID number. Name is a good way to do it if you have the name on the deed. Book and page, but we're looking for the map, a copy of the map, the plat map. So we are going to, like I said, if you ever don't see the book number and you're searching for a map, it is just, see my computer, I've do it so many times, it's got it pre-filled in there. So, and then the page number 8598. And we're going to search. And this should be it. It looks like it should be. So let's open that and make sure. And there you have it. And it is not for the whole neighborhood, but it should be for the home that we're looking for. So let's see, that's 372. Oh. So once you find your map, you can save a copy of that. Okay, so there's additional information I'm probably going to want to get, but I am going to see what we can find. So I have my map, I have my deed, and I'm going to go over to the Rowan County GIS website. And then you can go over to search, and if you know the owner's name, you can type it in. If you have the parcel ID number, you can search that way, or address, deed book and page reference number. But type in one of those. I wouldn't type in all of them, but type in what you have. If you don't find it that way, then search a different way. When I first typed in the owner's name, it couldn't find it. So I resorted to the address, and then I found it. So, and you can see it on here. She is right there. You can, by the way, you can move the map and you can change, you can change views. It does sometimes get a little bit full, a little bit hard to see. But it's right there, so it kind of gives you the bird's eye view. There are different, you can get different information from it. You can look at the layers. You have options for the map. Most of this stuff you're not going to want because it's just not of interest to us, but you do have options. So we're going to roll back over to results. So there's a lot of information on here. It's going to tell you approximate acres. If somebody needs the exact lines, exact acreage, you need to suggest they get a survey. So, but we're going to need the approximate acres for MLS. This is going to have other information on it that we're going to need, but it's going to show our address. There's our parcel ID number. There's the PIN number. We have our client's name. It is going to give us a deed book and page reference number, but I will tell you, I don't just pull information from GIS and go, yep, that's it, it's correct. I double check everything because sometimes the information doesn't line up. So in this case, it looks like the deed reference is correct with the deed that we pulled. So that is always a good thing. But oops, look at that, clicked. So there's the plat reference, it's right there as well. And here's the legal description. Let's see. So it's got some of the information that you're going to want there because you're going to need some of that for MLS. But you can always click these as well, sometimes just for additional information. So we click property record card, and we've got lots of information to choose from here. There's parcel history. It might be a little slow. No data. Sketch. It should give us this outline. So you can use this for a reference. See how it has your measurements and everything on here, but you cannot keep that as your measurements for MLS. You need to measure that house yourself or professionally. Do not go off of anything in the county records, tax records, whatever. They may or may not be correct. And that is not how we're supposed to get our numbers. But you can use this kind of just for a reference, for a starting point. It gives you some information. Sometimes people alter their homes. Sometimes what the county has is not 100% correct. So it says you're behind, so protect it and have this measured yourself.
Melissa, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, for the measurement here, we have to make sure that we have the right one. What about if acreage? What do we do?
Acreage, I would check your records, check the plat map. A lot of times it'll tell you what it is. Check the county records, check the deed. Deeds are not always correct because sometimes people have portions of their land separated or divided, but in this case, it's so small. I would go with county records just until you find out otherwise. I wouldn't necessarily go with the deed because, like I said, sometimes people have maybe 5 acres and that's what the deed says. And then at some point they divided some of it off and sold it or whatever, but their original deed still shows 5 acres and they might only own 2 now. So I wouldn't always go with the deed, but I would check the county records. And in MLS also, you can pull up the map and click on a property and it will give you approximate information as well. I mean, and until somebody gets an actual survey, all you have to go off of is the information you have access to. So, I mean, you gotta do your best there. So, most of us are not out there trying to measure land because we don't know the actual parameters. So it makes it harder to do that. But yeah, so here's your sketch. You have your summary. So this gives you starting points as well, as far as with the zoning and everything like that. But you can always reach out to the county's planning and zoning department and let them know that you just want to confirm the zoning for a piece of property. And you can give them the address and you can give them the parcel ID and get the county to respond, or the city to tell you what the zoning actually is. Let's see. So again, this is going to show your legal description. It's going to show you the zoning. It's going to tell you where the tax district is. Let's see. And this is all information the county knows. So if somebody's altered their property and the county is unaware of that, it's not going to be 100% correct. But again, it gives you information you can talk to your seller about, and you can go kind of verify some of this for yourself. These are things that, again, I usually make a copy of the page. It's just more research for me. And let's see, so you can click this. This will take a second to load, I think, but I'm going to try and pull this up, see if it processes. But you can get a lot of information off the GIS, at least in Rowan County. Every county is a little different, like I said, but this always takes it a minute. So here's our property card for the property. Has a copy of the sketch with the measurements for the property, for the home. It has the owner's information, address. You're going to find the parcel number up here, which is the one that we started with, Rowan County. Legal description, zoning. That's the plat map page right there. And this is what they know about the house, or what they believe they know as far as the county is concerned. Again, this is not information that you want to say, oh, this is 100% accurate, because again, it's what they know. Or what they believe they know. You should always see a home for yourself, walk around inside, outside, ask questions of the seller or whatever before you list it. Do not ever list a home without seeing it, without walking around, without verifying the information. Ask your clients the information. MLS has MLS input sheets that you can print off, and it has everything on there that it is going to ask you when you input a listing, just to kind of help verify that you are getting the information you need. But you can see this just has a lot of information, right? It's telling you it's on a slab. Verify that when you go out to the property. It's just letting you know what it's got. It's showing you what the county currently says the tax value is. This is on here as well. So any changes that have been done will be in here. You'll see more stuff if it's on an older home. This one's not that old. But again, this is something that I would print and save because of the information that's on it. And that keeps getting in my way. Okay. And you can pull up tax bills, so you can see approximately what the taxes were last year. A lot of these are going to change, but let's see. And then one of the things that I will typically do, and you don't have to, but it's what I typically do, and this is in my way. Is I will go over here and I will, sometimes it takes me a few tries to get this right, but I like to zoom in, and learning to place it is going to be a little bit trickier. But if I tell it to print, I'll have a copy of this map with some of this information on the side. And again, it's just an extra way for me to gather information or to keep copies of it. And you can see when I zoomed in, the calculated acres popped up for some of the properties and not all. Don't know why that is, but this shows me my home. If I was going to save this copy, I would get out of this and kind of adjust the map again, because I like to have the street name on the side. I usually line it up better, but it gives me just a little bit of that information off to the side, and I just save it as another piece of information. This is going to keep popping up, and I don't know how to get that out of my way. If I can, oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take this information, and now we're in Canopy MLS. If you're part of Triad MLS, it's fairly similar. They've done a lot to make Canopy's done a lot to make theirs kind of look like Triad, intentionally or not. They're much more similar now than they were before. So to input a listing, we're going to go over here, Canopy MLS. I've logged in. I've gone over to add edit. And over here starts questions. Do I want to add a new listing or edit an existing one? We are going to add a new one. And over here, it's going to ask what kind. Okay. So this one is just a regular house. But just make sure you start it correctly. Read over everything, right? Make sure you choose the correct one. We are in residential. So you have options in here, and you can fill it from realist tax. You can start with a blank property. Doesn't matter how you choose to do it. If you fill it from realist tax and it can find it for you, you know, that'll input some of the information for you. But like I said, just verify it. Sometimes the deed book and page seems to be the most common one I find that's not correct when you fill from realist tax. But make sure when you fill from realist tax, it pre-fills or it's preset to Mecklenburg County. If you do not change the county that the property is in and you're over here trying to type in the information, it will never find it. So occasionally I forget, and then I'm like, why isn't it not find the property? I know it's there. So Rowan County. And you can do it a number of ways. So I'm just going to go with my client's name and see what it pulls up. Yep. Okay. So it's giving me all kinds of options. And I have found my property. And I have found that parcel number matches. So we're going to go over and we're going to tell it to fill it from that one. Okay. And we're going to leave it incomplete. I'm not worried about the marketing date. I'm not ready to go active right this second. Incomplete. When you keep it in incomplete status, anytime you hit submit property, it will save your information. It will not make your MLS live or active or whatever. It will save it in there. It feels really weird when you're just trying to save it to get out, to hit submit property, because you feel like it's going to make it active. So don't worry about that. It's okay. So we're making sure that says incomplete. We're jumping over to location. Let's see what it pre-filled for us. Pre-filled the state, county. The parcel ID number matches what we wrote down. It wants to know where the city taxes are paid to. It has pulled the deed book and reference. We're double checking that that's correct. It looks correct. Plat, street, drive, pre-direction. It's in Rockwell. Additional parcels, plat, book and slide. Zoning, zoning on the property summary was R2. It's already pulled the subdivision, but it pulled it as phase 1 map 2. It is probably going to have a hard time finding that. It's probably going to tell me no match. It's going to keep pulling it up as an error when I try to make the listing active. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the phase 1 map 2. It's pulled a legal description. It is not the complete legal description that was in our it's not the complete legal description that we pulled up when we were in GIS. So what I would do is I would go back to the GIS. I would look for that legal description. Right here where it says Alexander Glen phase 1, I would just add that to have a more complete description. As far as the schools go, this is a hot topic on the chat groups for realtors. Do what you are comfortable with is what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to really say one way is more correct than the other. Schools change, they can change frequently. They can change, 1 year to the next or in 2 years from now. So some people are hesitant to specifically name the schools, especially because, there's so many other options for people other than just the traditional school or the specific school it's zoned for. But, some people do their search based on a school district. You will find people on either side of that discussion. Some people get very upset over it. It's, there's ways to find homes in certain school districts without having that in there. But again, I also understand people don't want to put that in just because they can change. And if you look it up wrong and somebody buys a home based on where you told them, what school it was zoned for, then that's a whole nother issue for you. So put what you're comfortable with. Personally, I do leave mine as unspecified. On occasion, I do put the actual school, but it's highlighted because something has to be in there. So in MLS, anything that's highlighted is required information. Anything that's not highlighted is optional. So as long as you have unspecified or you leave it under the school, that's fine. Again, you are welcome to look up the specific school zoned and fill that in. So we've got everything set. We do know the plat information. So we're going to throw that in there so people can look that up should they choose. So map not found currently. So you have to have a pin set for where the property is located. I would say please make sure you do this correctly because some people will look for the home based on this. Sometimes people have the pin dropped on the house next door or possibly across the street, but at least you're in the general area. I've seen them before where they're like 3 miles away from the property. It's super easy to set it. We're going to go in and we are going to tell it that we are just going to set it manually. And it's going to start off by where it believes we need to be. And so we are going to zoom in. Now I'm going to double check so I don't drop it in the wrong place. So here's our corner. And we are the second house up, 3, 4, 5. That's not the right one. Oh, no, I dropped down. Okay. So there's the corner. This should be where it was. We're going to drop it on there. It pulled up the old listing. So that should be the correct dropped pin. Just tell it done. And now people can find it based on that. I will tell you, one of our agents did learn recently that if you have the pin dropped in the wrong location, MLS can send you a warning letter to fix it or be subject to a fine. So it's not just annoying when people are trying to find a property and the pin's not dropped wrong. It can cost you a fine. So, but it is super easy to do. Like I said, you should know where the property is, so you shouldn't have a problem dropping the pin where it belongs. We're gonna pop over. This comes.
Melissa,
Yes,
is it required to put the pin there, or you can just leave it?
No, I think I think you have to have a pin, because if you try to submit the listing, it should be the error that comes back to you to tell you you have something to complete on the listing. So yeah, and you want to double check, because you don't want to take the chance that it automatically set a location and have that location be wrong, because again, that's going to come back on you. So it's, like I said, it's really easy. You should know where the property is. One, from being there yourself, and two, from the information you pulled for your background research for doing the listing. So it's super easy. Just tell it you want to set it manually, find it on the map, drop the pin and hit save. So it should have your information in here automatically, because you're the one doing the listing. Expiration date, it's going to be the expiration date on your listing agreement that you already have filled out. So we are just going to pretend like it is June 1st of 2024. We are absolutely hoping we sell our house in a much shorter time frame than a year, but we've got that on there. Buyer agency comp is going to be whatever you have on your listing agreement. We have 3%. These are all highlighted again, so that means you have to remember to put something in here. So we are working on a percentage. We did not do a flat fee. If you are offering a flat amount of $2,000 for the buyer agency compensation, not a big deal. You put your 2,000 in there and you just choose the dollar symbol. But we are doing percentage as is typical. This is exclusive right to sell. This is full service, not limited. I do not own this home. There's not a bonus being offered, but it's not highlighted in yellow either. If bonus was highlighted in yellow and there was no bonus, I would type 0 just to fill it in so it lets us go. Sub-agency compensation. Lantern Realty does not do sub-agency compensation. Please do not check that on your listing agreements. Please do not fill anything in under sub-agency comp. On MLS, it is highlighted, so we have to put something, so we put 0. Does not really matter which one you select, but I'm going to keep it consistent because I choose percentage with buyer agency comp. I'm going to choose percentage right here. We're not doing a variable rate commission. Nothing else needs to be filled in. It doesn't apply. In this instance, my client this is not an estate sale, not a bankruptcy. She's not under foreclosure, nothing. She doesn't have any renters in there, so we're not subject to a lease, nothing. So we are going with none. It is highlighted, so please, make sure you check something. The nice thing is before it goes active, if you think you are all done and you tell it to make this listing active, if you have missed any of these yellow boxes, it will stop you. It will throw up your little flag, your little exclamation mark under whichever tab needs to have something corrected. And if it was under here, under agent office, you would just click the tab. You would roll down and it will show you which one has the error, and you can just simply correct it. And sometimes it's just you forgot to check a box. So showing instructions, it comes pre-filled with the phone number for showing time. So that's nice. And you're going to click anything that applies. If you want every buyer and buyer's agent contacting you over this listing to ask you questions or whatever, then feel free to check that. But most of the time, we just want a notification. Let's see. So it wants to know what applies. So I'm going to roll down here. We are not holding the key. We have a lockbox on the property. If you are not putting a sign on the property for whatever reason, then just select no sign. Let's see. Showing service, we're going to go through showing service. For showing time, we've got a sign. And that's going to be all that applies to our client, but you are going to click anything that applies. So just read them. If it applies, great. If not, move on. But I mean, I know we're always in a hurry and inputting a listing can take a while, but please just take a moment to look at stuff and read it. Let's see. These are usually pre-filled. Typically, I don't have anything to change on here, but you might. So if you have virtual tours set up, you can put the link here. Same if you have a web URL for the property specifically, you can put that in there. If not, we move on to the property info. So everything that's highlighted in yellow, we have to fill out. We are going to pretend that I have already done a CMA, talked to my client, and she has said this is the price that she wants to start at. So we've got that in there. This is a single family home. Tax value is pooled. But when we looked at the property card, it was actually higher. It was 300 and something thousand. And this is pulling from the previous one. The year built is 2019. So if we've received the most updated tax value and it is different and you change that, just note that in agent remarks that the tax value is X amount because of the most recent tax evaluation. Let's see. So this home was 2-story. There's no basement. So if any of these apply, and this is where Lynette was asking, yep, it doesn't list modular. So I am not really good at knowing the architectural style of most homes. If you do, fantastic, you can select it. If you're like me, I know what some of these are, others I do not know, and I just don't select anything because it's not making me. So ownership period. So if the seller does not own it yet, if the seller owned it for at least 1 year or less than 1 year, you're going to select what applies. My person's living in it. It's not vacant. There's not a renter in it. You can do what you want here. Some people leave the client's names. Some people remove it. That's my go-to. I've seen it as other people's. It will be the agent can find it on the disclosures that I will have uploaded in the listing. Anybody else will have to look a little bit harder to find it. So I just don't put it out there. Proposed financing, everything you've discussed with your client that they are willing to accept on a loan, or that would apply if you have a home that there's no way it would be approved FHA or VA, don't select it. So we're going to go here, and I did not look to see if it was in a USDA area. If we get a USDA offer, then I would just look up the USDA zoning map. And actually, I could have looked up the USDA zoning map to see.
Melissa, I have a question, sorry.
Sure.
For the seller's name, you put WD. What's that for?
Oh, I usually put WH for withheld.
Okay,
That's more like withdrawn.
okay.
Sorry, I'm not even sure where that came from. So yeah, that's it, just withheld. I
Okay.
don't know where I got the D from. Thank you for asking. Let's see, she's not an assumable loan. So if you want to know if a home that you're listing for sale is in, would qualify for a USDA loan for its location, you can just go to the USDA. I think it's USDA.gov, I think might be the website, but you can pull it up and you can search the address for eligible areas. And if the home is located in an eligible area, that's another option as long as the seller is willing to accept a USDA loan. If you need help with loan types and whatever, just talk to your favorite lender and just say, hey, it looks like this is USDA eligible. What are some talking points to have with my seller in case they are afraid of VA loans, FHA, USDA, whatever. And they might help your seller be more at ease with the different types of loans. Approximate acreage, it's kind of highlighted. I'm not sure why it's kind of highlighted, but not really. But when we looked, it said 0.19. Lot dimensions, you can usually get off of the GIS. You can go into MLS and pull up the MLS map and find a property. And there's an option there to see the lot dimensions as well. We're just not going to put them in. It's pretty rectangular, so which is nice. You just have your 4 numbers, but so it's not a condo or a townhouse, so we don't have to fill any of this out. That would probably only be required if the property was a condo or a townhouse that we were selling. So anything that's solid highlight has to be filled out. So thankfully they have updated this because there used to be requirements like all over the place. So we know that this is a 2-story home. So the main level, I have this written down, main level has 1 bedroom, 1 full bath. The main level square foot is right there, is 1108. We're going to jump down to the upper level. And when I looked it up, and when I went to the house and talked to my seller, 4 bedrooms is what we've discovered, 2 full bath, no half, and the heated square foot upstairs when we had it measured was 1469. There are no second living quarters. Let's see, construction type. This is site built. It's not new construction anymore. It's a few years old. If it was new construction and you put yes, then it's going to ask you for a few more pieces of information. Subject to HOAs, this one is yes. There are HOAs, there are CCRs. Subject to HOA dues, they are mandatory. You're going to find all this information out. You're going to ask your seller to give you as much information as they can. They should be able to give you a contact person for the HOA or a contact phone number or email address. You need to reach out to the HOA, see what they will give you for information. If you have a seller who's like, nope, I have no idea, then you're going to have to do your research, see if you can find the CCRs or the bylaws or something on the county website. If you have a problem with that, go into MLS, look for other properties that have sold or are listed in that same neighborhood. Look and see what they have. Do not take the information they put as 100% accurate, but it'll give you at least a starting point for finding some of the information so you can reach out to confirm with the HOA what that information is. So if you look in a neighborhood that has a HOA and you see 3 houses for sale and 4 that have closed and whatever, and you go into each of those and you start looking at what they put for HOA information and whether or not there's CCRs, I can promise you that all of those properties are not going to match up. Some of them might have the exact same information. Some are going to have different information. you're gonna get conflicting information, but at least you'll have somewhere to start so you can start tracking down the proper information. HOA fees, so there's a place to put it, how much it is, and it's going to want to know how often. So in this case, we are quarterly. We're going to put the HOA's name, the management phone number, right? And whatever their email is. If there is a second HOA fee, again, same thing. You're going to find out from your seller if they know if they're of any confirmed special assessments. If they have no clue, then reach out to the HOA. It is, if you know if there is or not, just fill it out appropriately. So we're going to bounce up to the rooms. There's a room type. So we'll start with the first floor, whatever is on that first floor. Don't do a first floor, a second floor, a first floor room. Try to keep it organized a little bit. So this is not mandatory yet as far as the size of the rooms, but if you have measurements done and you have them professionally done and they give you room measurements, that's helpful. You can put it in here. If you have the information or have access to it, this does take a little bit more time to do, but it helps buyers. And I know if you are a buyer's agent, you appreciate it as well, because it helps buyers know, will their furniture fit? Is the room as big as they feel they need for a kitchen or a bedroom or whatever? So we've put in our dimensions. And what room features does it have? Just roll through and, whatever applies. And then you can move on to the next one. And this one has a bedroom, same thing. So you're going to go through and you're going to do that, click your features, move on to the next one. Same thing. If it's upper level, and you move on. So I will tell you with this page, for whatever reason, when you move on out of that tab and you roll back, it automatically adds another row. So sometimes when you submit your MLS, it will flag you for this page. And if you come back to this page, everything looks good, but you have a blank row. Just hit delete. So I don't know why it does that, but it'll do it to you constantly. So exterior features, if there's any exterior features that, that the home has to help it sell, we're going to put that on there. Lot description, these are not mandatory. They're just nice selling points, helpful information. So we're going to mark what it has, right? Privacy fencing, exterior covering. So anything highlighted must be filled out. You need to know what this is. You should have checked out the home, talked to the owner. And so you should have this information already. So we are going to mark our home, what the exterior covering is. None of these apply. Well, we'll just say she has an outbuilding. So if anything applies, put it on there. The more information, the better probably, because if you have buyers looking for something specific, it's great if they can see right away that property meets those qualifications. So we have no basement, so we are not going to put anything there. The roof, we've already discovered what kind of shingles it has. There are different types. Please be aware, metal roofs are becoming more and more popular. Do not assume the roof has architectural shingles. Make a note of the roof. Don't just think, well, I can't remember what it had. I'm sure it probably had architectural shingles. You don't want to have that wrong if it is a metal roof. But foundation, you have many options as well. So we're going through and we're selecting stuff. I don't select elevation because I don't know that. And I'm sure I can probably find it on the county website somewhere. But I let that be. Road surface type. That neighborhood is paved. Road responsibility. This one you want to get correct. Okay. We don't have horse amenities. Garage spaces. This one has 2. Main level garage. Yep. So just roll through the information, answer what applies. Our driveway is concrete. Parking features. We have an attached garage. And it faces the front. So you have a lot of different options for parking features. Just roll through, click anything that applies. Heating. Ask your client, look at it. Select what applies. And roll with it. Your water, your sewer, your heating, your air, please be accurate on these. These are items that can cause you trouble, get you into trouble. You don't want to be marked wrong. You don't want somebody buying a house assuming that it's city sewer and city water, and then finding out that it's a well and that it's on septic. Some people are fine with it. Other people, that's enough for them to lodge a complaint. And you don't want to be called up to Raleigh. So please double check your information, make sure it's correct. Check with your client, ask for copies of the water bill. Contact the county that you're listing the property in. Check and see if they have a septic permit for the property. Excuse me. Even if your client says, nope, we're on city sewer, double check with county to make sure there's still not a septic permit on file. It could be that once upon a time the house was on septic and now it's connected to city sewer. So you need to know if that's the case. Is the tank still there? And you need to disclose that in your agent remarks. So same thing with the water source. We're going to confirm that it's city water, that it's not on well. People should know what they have, but they don't always, especially if they bought the house and it's a flip. They may not know, or if they bought it and have only ever had renters in it, maybe they didn't pay attention. Maybe they have so many properties that they own that they can't remember the specifics for all of them, but it's our duty to find out this information and have it on there accurately. So, and there are differences. It could be on well, but it could be on a community well or a shared well between another single property, or they could have their own well. So, and those are things where if they're like, oh, it's well water, you need to know to ask more specific questions. Is it your own well? Show me where your well pump is and stuff like that. Is it community? Is it a shared well? You need to find that. And if it's a shared well, you might want to find out if they have an agreement drawn up as to who's responsible for what and how they share those duties. Utilities, again, select whatever applies. Don't assume, don't hesitate to ask your client. You can even bring the MLS input sheet with you and go through the questions with your client and check them off. Interior features, same thing. You're just going to you're going to select whatever applies. Again, this is not mandatory, but you probably should do it because it'll help sell the home. Appliances, I would suggest you mark what conveys, which are typically items that are fixtures. I don't typically select dryer if my seller is not leaving the dryer. So just roll through, select what it has. Don't select gas oven if it's electric. Just kind of pay attention to that stuff too. Don't make any assumptions. Laundry features. Same thing. Where is that laundry? If there's any accessibility, patio porch. So you're just kind of rolling through all these items. Fireplace, yes or no. If you don't mark anything, it should flag you to come back and answer it. If there is a fireplace, you're just putting where it is, what kind it is, stuff like that. Fixture exclusion. Fixture exclusion. So if my client says that they are taking the bathroom mirrors because they absolutely love them, then we're going to mark yes, and we're going to put that in remarks that, or there actually is a place right here that you can put what it is, and you can label it the primary bathroom mirrors. But if you can get your sellers to do it, it would be best all around if they just replace those mirrors before this listing goes live, and before you have pictures taken with those mirrors in it, or the chandelier, or whatever the case may be that they think they want to keep. It's fine if you can get them to change it out before pictures are done and before it goes live. That's best, so you don't have any issues over that being different. Come closing time, when the buyers assume that it's going to be there. Fixtures exclusion. Some people want to take the rose bushes with them, so just put that in there and list what it is. Your listing agreement will have a list of what are typical fixtures. Go over that with your sellers so that they can think about, okay, if there is anything on that list they are going to take, you need to have it listed. It's kind of important. Everybody has a different idea of what a fixture is. But go over that list with your buyers too. Side note, go over the list of what's a fixture. So when your buyer is in a home, they know what to expect. Pay attention to MLS listings where it does have fixture exclusions. Read the remarks so that you can let your buyers know ahead of time if there is anything that is not going to stay with the home. We don't want anybody getting attached to something and then having major disappointment when it's not there. Community features, roll through, see if anything applies, mark it on there. Restrictions, same thing. There's a place for descriptions, if there's a water body, so on. So once we have that filled out, we're going to hop over to the green section. If any of this applies, fill it out. Agent remarks. You have remarks to put in for public remarks, and you have agent remarks. Please don't ever put the access codes to a home in agent remarks, or in remarks period, but in agent remarks. That stuff goes in showing time, or whatever showing service the MLS uses that you are a part of. But don't put stuff like that out there. Agent remarks, it's anything that the agent needs to know or that they need to tell their buyer. You know, if there is a railroad track 50 feet behind the house and it should be obvious to everybody, don't assume that it's obvious to everybody. I would put that in agent remarks. If you have somebody buying sight unseen, they may not do a Google aerial of the area to notice that. The agent might not know. If they are submitting sight unseen, people don't always do that. It's a good idea to do that to kind of see what's in the area that you don't know about. Those things are supposed to be disclosed. They are not always. We've all pulled up property disclosures that have nothing marked under, you know, noise issues. There'll be nothing in agent remarks or public remarks stating that there is a train track and an active train track behind the house. So again, don't ever assume that people know this, that it should be obvious. Just put it out there. So some things to know with MLS. You cannot put things like, you know, you can't use terms like the master bedroom, master closets. You cannot put within walking distance of this, or that. You have to be careful with your words. You're really not even supposed to put stuff like a great place to raise your family, anything that's going to cross the line of fair housing. Just if you question at all whether or not you can use a certain type of phrase or word or whatever, just don't use it. Find something else to put in its place to avoid violations or accusations or anything else. So, but you put directions in here. You don't have to put every single step. The directions are good in case somebody, in case their GPS is not taking them to the house, or in case you have a property that's kind of difficult to find on the GPS. Sometimes if it's a new subdivision, you can't always find the address by typing in on your GPS because it is a new subdivision. So you would put that in directions, get them to the main crossroads, and then from there kind of walk them through approximately how to find it. Sometimes the street names are the same or very similar. Same thing with neighborhood names. So that's a good place to clarify that in the directions. Once you think you have everything, if you can check requirements, actually, if you want. It brought me nothing. So if I hit submit property, so it was listed as incomplete. So when I hit submit property, which like I said, feels weird if it's incomplete, but it says right here, it's successfully saved as incomplete. I now have an MLS number. So I typically write that down as well. It will stay out there. You'll find it under add edit. It will be one of your listings you can pull up to make changes on, but I've got my MLS number. At this point, I can get showing time information started if I wanted to, if I knew, what hours the home can be shown, if I knew how much lead time my client needed, as far as in advance notice for showings, whatever. So I can start on my showing time information. I can add attachments. So if I have my property disclosures, the plat map, if we already have a survey, if I have any of the HOA docs, if I have a professional sketch of the home, the measurements, whatever, you can go ahead and get all of that added in. If I have any photos taken so far, I can start on those. These are things to do while you're waiting for additional information before your listing goes live. So you can go ahead and work on this stuff and make it that much faster. You can continue editing. If you're not done, you can just hit that and go back in. But when you click on that, it's going to show you, this is approximately what it would look like if I was ready to go live. I like to look at this, read through it, kind of scrutinize it, because that will let me know, for example, if I left something off that needed to be on there. This is what everybody's going to see when they look at it. And that might be where you notice that, maybe you accidentally did main level and basement level or something strange like that, and there's no basement. So you can make your corrections. Helps you identify if you have your bed and your bath right. And you can see just kind of what it's going to look like. So it's a good idea to double check your information. I know there was something else that I wanted to show you, but I don't remember what it is. But your tabs are here, so any pictures are there. There's no history popping up. So there's your parcel maps. You can click on your parcel map. I've clicked too quickly, it's slow, sorry. So this parcel map also gives you your lot dimensions. So if you wanted to go back in there into your MLS and add the lot dimensions, you could do that. Always check, it's not going to come up, flood map. So you can go to FEMA's website and check, or FRIS, F-R-I-S, website to see if it's in a flood zone. If so, you do need to list that and list where. So if it's just the back portion, you want to put that in there, find out if your client has flood insurance. But double check. A lot of times this is where we something jumps out at us that we've missed. Let's see. So, and that's how we do it. So if you need to jump back into it, you go add edit, select a listing. And here's your options of items to work on. And we would just jump right back in. So, do you have any questions?
That was great, Melissa. Very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I know there was a few more things that I wanted to go over, but it might have been connected maybe to the listing agreement. But that's just kind of roughly, that should get you started, get you at least familiar with it a little bit more, but always do your background research, confirm it with your client, confirm it with what you see when you go check out the house. Alicia, do you have anything to add? I know you do a lot of listings.
No, you did a great job. I mean, all the changes make it look a little different, but yeah, it's,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. I just, you know, sometimes somebody has a different perspective or they think of something different and whatever. But I mean, really, it's disclosing stuff. It's knowing what information to put under public remarks versus agent remarks. It's filling out as much as you can. You know, it's going to help cover your behind. It's going to help your house sell. Yeah, I mean, so it's, yeah, if you have any questions, you know, just reach out. If you have any suggestions, anything that I'm in the recording,